What is spirituality? And are you on the right path? See, spirituality is just such an abstract word. It's such a concept. And when we communicate, usually casually, we assume that everyone knows what it is. And so for the sake of this channel, I would like to give some definition and to share the definition with you. First, I really want to give you the definition of what it isn't, what's in the way of true spirituality. And for me, what's in the way of true spirituality is two things. And before I tell you those two things, I really want you to perhaps open your mind and just notice that you already have some concepts about spirituality already. Everything that you've accumulated, it's already there. Maybe you've had some experiences, maybe you've read some books, some teachings. So maybe put these a little bit aside so you can really have an open mind if you want to discover something new. And so today we don't have a gecko, but we have a bird that agrees, that confirms, that strengthens the truth. And so two things that are in the way of true spirituality, and that is knowledge and superstition. And we so heavily rely on knowledge. We so heavily celebrate knowledge. And it's been just such a big part of my life too. I've been someone who had a really difficult, abusive childhood, had a lot of suffering throughout my life, anxiety, and so on top of that I was a very sensitive person. So it was almost impossible to be around people. I felt like being tortured and was crying all the time. And I never wanted to take any medication, so I embarked on this self-development spiritual journey. And for 20 years I've been accumulating knowledge and information. So I read books, I read like 2,000 self-help books and spirituality texts, and I studied with some people, traveled the world, went to seminars, workshops, retreats, you name it, all kinds of stuff. So this is knowledge. And when things really started changing was when I discovered what is deep knowing. And that's at the core of spirituality for me, because there's nobody outside of you that can really tell you what to do in your life or how to do it or what practice you should be practicing. Because so many people who are telling you these things, even though they appear they've got it, it just doesn't come from your own knowing. So what is the difference between knowing and knowledge? If I asked you the question, why did you put your toothbrush this morning? If you're like most people, you'll probably like look to the right and say, oh yeah, it's on the sink as always. And so this is knowledge. You go into your memory and you go for this information that you stored that from before, or that's there. I don't even want to say from before. The knowledge that goes from the mind. It's that comes through the mind, and we believe it. There is no doubt. We just believe it. And you know, in my book, you might be accurate, you might not be accurate. The true knowing is if you actually go to the bathroom and have a look for yourself, and you see it, and you can really confirm, yes, the toothbrush is on the sink. Or maybe today I actually put it on a little bit different side, or you know, maybe I've just forgot it or whatever. And even though it sounds like counterintuitive, like why would I rely on my knowing to have to check everything for myself when there's so many amazing people who can tell me, or I can go in my mind and I can just know these things. Well, that's the thing, you can never really know 100%. And beyond all of this, you know, the mind is just a trickster. It's just 100% trickster. It makes you believe only certain things enough, so you believe that you have reliable knowledge, but your mind is so not reliable. I mean, sometimes you think that you know, but unless you really know for yourself, then you don't know. Those are called assumptions and stories and expectations that we create that are just in the mind. We actually don't create them, they're just there, interfering with what is true, what is actually happening. And you know, so for me, spirituality is not just the woo-woo concepts, new age. It has nothing to do with pretty much anything except of true knowing, seeing what is actually there, checking that for myself. And I've been really looking into the nature of reality and consciousness for some time now. And I've done some very deep looking that sometimes it took me several hours every day for a few years now to really start deconstructing those illusions from the mind, to really come into trust of my own seeing and go beyond these stories that I believed before that brought me so much suffering in my life. And even though before I was involved with so many spirituality practices and people, and I just let that go completely. There is nothing I'm doing right now except of looking. And you can call it meditation, but there is nothing, there's no mantras, there's no practices that I'm doing except of really looking. And I have a wonderful guide, and I've had some amazing guides in my life before, starting with Byron Katie, who introduced me into inquiry. And then I went deeper with it with other teachers and guides, actually, who really showed me how to go beyond the stories. And the biggest story of all, the story of the self, which is really a big one, underlying in everything. The story that the self that I believe myself to be, Olivia, is real, and all the suffering is always revolving around her. That I believe that I'm here and I have some agency and I'm doing something, and that I am the one who's moving this body. But deeper, I know already that this is not me doing this, or doing this speaking, or doing this video, the way I'm speaking to you today. It's simply life doing it. And it's this whole illusion that we are separate, some separate entities trying to do something and suffering, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with you or with your life. And so spirituality is just that recognition. And that can take so much time for some people, and it can be very spontaneous for some, as they claim. Some people claim they just awoke to reality and out of suffering, just spontaneously. And for me, it was a very slow process, because I had so much knowledge accumulated from before. But there's nothing sweeter than truth. There's nothing sweeter than really knowing who you truly are and really seeing that for yourself. That really seeing that it cannot be separated. You cannot be separated from anything except what you're thinking about it, what your mind tells you about it. Whenever you look around, you look at things and you're constantly labeling things and experiences and people and yourself. You're just an image in your own mind, and you believe yourself to be that. And you're getting hurt and you have these stories. And I'm just saying too much in here. For me, spirituality is simply going beyond the stories. It's simply recognizing that everything is one, nothing can be separated. That's spirituality. Because from that space, you look at anything and everything is beautiful. There is no suffering. The suffering is always in the mind. It's always in duality. It's always in the separation. So, yeah, this might be a little controversial videos for some who believe in spirituality. That is maybe a different way. Maybe there is some practices you believe yourself that you need to do, or you read something that you need to manifest things in a different way. And believe me, I've tried it all, and there's nothing sweeter than simply recognizing your own true nature, which is everything, and also seeing yourself for what you are not, seeing yourself as this beautiful story, fictional character, and really having fun with that. That's a way out of enduring life and really enjoying any kind of experience. Because when you are operating from that space of oneness, when you just know yourself as oneness, then you don't have preference for experiences. You just don't prefer this or that. You just know that everything is perfect, perfect, perfect. And everything is always showing you something about yourself, to those parts that you are not awakened to yet. Everything is always reflecting something to you. You are the source of what's happening in your life, in each moment. There's nothing random. There is no experiences or no events that are completely random or just don't belong to you. You have nothing to do with them. They always reflect something from your own mind, your own being. And so that's spirituality for me, to get away from knowledge and superstition. I didn't say much about superstition, but I think at this point it becomes obvious. It's believing something that you cannot check for yourself. And most spirituality is heavily based on that. It's based on some guru or on someone who appears to know some steps, and they don't really tell you how they got from A to B, some sort of mysterious thing. And Or sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and then we form this superstition because we believe when it worked that time and that time that it must work every time. Like the law of attraction, manifestation. We believe that we're manifesting our reality with our thoughts and with our emotions. But have you actually checked for yourself? You know, if that was true, and if really every thought that I think manifested as reality, if only I put enough emotion in there, my life would be very different. And possibly I probably wouldn't even be here, because there were times in my life when I did have a lot of suicidal thoughts. And I'm still here, so that's the proof. And on the other hand, if really your reality is created by your thoughts, then how do you explain those unexpected things that you never think about? Those unimaginable things that just pop into your existence and you go like, wow, those are the best parts of the life, outside of the expectations. And they have nothing to do with your thinking. No, your thinking is not even yours. It doesn't even belong to you. It just pops in there. But because we never investigate, we just believe everything what we read, and then we're stuck. So there you go. Spirituality for me is just oneness, recognition of oneness.